Let's move on to Seattle, 2 p.m. Eastern on TBS. Colorado State, Memphis. This game will take place in Seattle, Washington. Colorado State's 1.5-point favorite here. Here's another bet I like, but I have injury questions. I think I like Memphis, but I also think Tyrese Hunter matters. Some people that I respect tell me it doesn't matter that much, but I think he does, especially on defense. But Colorado State, they are red hot. They're 8th on Torvik since February 14th. They're 10-0 over that span, shooting 47% from three and holding teams to 27.3% on high volume. So, why are they 8th on Torvik? That's part of it. By the way, Mountain West teams after San Diego State, 12-34-1 against the spread in the first round since 2009. 3-17 since 2019. They're on a 3-17 run against the number. Altitude team not playing in altitude here. Memphis just plays up in these spots. I mean, if you look, you can just keep filtering this. Memphis's rating is suppressed because they just don't show up. As they were 3-14 against the spread as favorites of 5 or more this year, which is crazy. They're kind of like the Steelers in the NFL. They show up for these big games. They can be faded as big favorites. But if you look, Memphis is 32nd versus the top 100. Colorado State is 54th. Let's keep going. Top 75. Memphis is 27th. Colorado State is 61st. How about top 50? Memphis is 29th. Colorado State is 142nd. Their defense ranks 285th in those games. Now, from an other matchup perspective, Memphis vulnerable on the offensive glass, 301st defensive rebounding, but Colorado State doesn't go after offensive rebounds. They're 279. Memphis, and because of that, why doesn't Colorado State go after offensive rebounds? Well, they get back. They don't allow you to go in transition. Memphis wants to run, but they're not as efficient running. They're better in the half court. So Colorado State's not going to exploit them on the glass where they have issues because of their aggression. And then they're going to force Memphis to operate in the half court more, which I think actually works in their favor. Memphis also has turnover issues, but the Rams don't really turn you over. They also foul too much, so Memphis can get to the line a ton. And I think Memphis can turn Colorado State over. I have a ton of respect for Nick Clifford. He could just go bananas here. So could PJ Haggerty. But, yeah, I just think that I think Memphis can play its game here. They usually play up in spots like this. There's some major regression coming for Colorado State. And I should clarify, when I say regression is coming, obviously they're shooting over their head. No one can make a three. 47% of our 10-game stretch, and the teams are shooting 27%. In a one-game sample, that means they could just continue. They could shoot. We saw North Carolina last night. They could shoot 70% and they'll win. But it also, I think, in turn, there's two factors here that are inflating Colorado State's rating a bit, and it's that 3-point differential over the past month, and also how these teams perform against better teams. So the Tyrese Hunter injury, I don't think he's going to play. Probably be Okogie starting again, but Harris, maybe. Their other backup point guard who's out, maybe he plays. There's potential that he'll get in there. But I'm leaning Memphis here. Probably will have a small bet. I'll have Memphis in some form or fashion. Tanner, what are you seeing here?
I agree. I think you hit the nail on the head. I took 2.5 in Memphis. I would play it to a pick 'em. I think they win this game outright for a lot of the same reasons that you said. This Colorado State run has been great and all. The streak is insane. 47% from three while opponents are shot 27%. And I think that's a stat made more concerning when you consider the Rams will play more shell-like defense that allows a lot of triples, right? They rank 250th nationally in three-point rate allowed during the stretch, and nobody's making anything. Totally inflates your market value. And I clown Penny Hardaway all the time. I'm not a big fan of his, but it's a fact of life that you fade him as a favorite and you back him as a dog. 71-79 against the spread as a favorite all time, 35-19 against the spread as an underdog. Like you said, his team filled with athleticism and talent, they generally play up and down to competition. Their lack of execution and their failure to make the right reads in a read and react system, that shows against the dregs of the American, especially the second time teams play. But then the superstar power of PJ Haggerty shows up against the elites, And so you're right. Those two things, I think, have totally inflated the market to where Colorado State just should not be favored in this game. I don't exactly love the schematic matchup here for Memphis. I don't know. I actually think Memphis kind of thrives in those up and down circus games. You can look at what they did against UAB twice. But I do think that the Tigers' athleticism could switch all of Medved's motion actions, all of his pretty cutting and off-ball screening stuff. And I just hope that Haggerty goes nuts. But I have to take Memphis here.
You're taking a look at Mr. Haggerty.
Yeah, let's talk about Haggerty going nuts. If he scores 30 or more, you can get it at plus 650 in the market. Win or lose, he's got to shoulder the offensive load here. With no Hunter, you look at that last game against UAB, he shot it 22 times, which was 7.5 more shots than his season average. If they win the tempo battle or even draw it closer to the tempo that they want to play at, I think he's going to go north of 20 shots. Tanner just mentioned, the defensive schematics that the Rams are going to put out there and say, go ahead, beat us from three. Well, he's shooting 38% from long range this year, and no one gets to the foul line in terms of guards more in this field of 68 than Haggerty. He's averaging 8 foul shots per game, which is top 10 in the entire country. So if he knocks down 3 triples and he gets to the line on his average, then all of a sudden you're just looking at him getting 8 or 9 shots the rest of the way in hopefully, a higher tempo, higher possession, higher shot volume kind of game. I just can't pass up on this. I saw it in the market at plus 510, but then when it popped at plus 650, I think it's got to be a play for what should be a really entertaining game. And I'm hoping that if he goes off, then maybe down the road they could get Hunter back. I don't know if that's a possibility or not, but just in terms of pure guard play, and it's what makes March run. It's all these amazing guard performances. I want to see this kid play as long as possible.
Yep. It should be a fun watch. One concern I do have, if it's like tight, like this game's expected to be tight, and Colorado State doesn't miss from the line, and Memphis has a bunch of guys who could miss free throws. And Danger has forgotten how to shoot free throws, and like just those possessions, those swing possessions at the end of the game, that like front ends, like Danger missing a couple front ends. Like he's like 7 of 28 over his past 4 games or something.
And you figure he'll get to the line here because Colorado State's a little undersized on the front line.
Yeah, Cisse too. He can't shoot free throws. Yep. I think he's under 50%. So that is a concern of mine because Colorado State's one of the 5 or 6 best free throw shooting teams in this field. But I do think there's some factors that do, make Memphis worth a play. But the Hunter injury complicates it. But by the way, one of the reasons why UC San Diego is one of my favorite bets of the weekend is that's the one game where like the potential factors. It's like the one side that I like where the potential other underlying factors could favor them with Michigan potential fatigue, and they had to play Sunday.